This is Generation Stadia, giving you that daily dose of everything and anything Stadia related, and today we have some news to cover, and it's all about the games. We have an update on Cyberpunk 2077, some EA game hires, Dirt 5 120 FPS speculation, and more. But before we dive into all that, I actually want to ask you to comment down below what you want to see out of this upcoming Stadia Connect. Be it games you want to see get announced, features being implemented, or other things like studios being bought. I'll be selecting a few comments and making a video on them and discussing them in length. But now let's get this started, and what better way to begin than by talking about two games that seem to have been leaked for Stadia. The first one comes to us by Spanish Stadia news site Stadianos, and it's regarding Spongebob SquarePants' Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated. As you can see, during the end of their release trailer, the Stadia logo actually shows up with the rest of the platforms the game is launched on. It is worth noting that the game has officially come out for all the listed platforms except Stadia, so we're just left wondering why the logo's there. Funny enough, we're usually the community that's left complaining because the logo is absent on games that have actually launched on Stadia, but this time it seems to be the other way around. At this point in time, neither THQ or Google have actually officially said anything about this, and they have been asked by multiple in the community. As per usual, I just want to restate the fact that you should always wait for official confirmation from either Google or the publishers to say a game is coming, but right now the chances look pretty good based on what we know. This wouldn't be the first game that THQ Nordic brings over to Stadia, and aside from that, they didn't just outright deny it when asked whether or not it was happening. Now, I can't say I'm personally excited for this game. I actually played it when I was younger, and I didn't enjoy it back then, so I doubt I'll enjoy it now, but I know a lot of people look fondly on it, and this will excite some users. But now let's switch our focus to the second game, and this time this news is coming to us by the ESRB. They recently put out a Stadia rating for One Hand Clapping, which appears to be a 2D platformer that uses rhythm mechanics to get through each level. The game is being developed by Bad Dream Games and is being published by Handy Games, which you may also know from Spitlinks. Another thing worth noting specifically about that company is that they are also under the THQ Nordic umbrella. As for my thoughts on the game, I wasn't initially that interested until I found out how the gameplay works. The game allows you to use your own voice to match the pitches required to advance through these levels, and I think that's a pretty unique and interesting mechanic that I haven't seen done yet. It's made me much more interested to try the game, and I'm also very curious as to how it'll work over Stadia. And yes, just in case you're wondering, you will be able to hear yourself after certain segments of the game. Do let me know what you think of both of these games and whether or not they appeal to you. But for now, let's move on to the next bit of news, and that has to do with some Dirt 5 speculation. As we know, the game is slated to launch on Google Stadia sometime in 2021 after the initial launch for the rest of the platforms. And for me, that's quite a bummer since I'm actually really excited for this entry into the series. But there is some speculation going around as to why that may be. But to be very clear, this is purely speculation, this is a rumor, do not take this as confirmation of anything. So it started from a WCCF Tech interview where they were discussing Dirt 5 with Codemasters. The question asked was about the Stadia version and where it will fall among the 6 other platforms from best to worst. The answer given was by Robert Karp, development director of the game, and he stated the following. So the Stadia version is due out a little bit later. We're currently not going into detailed specifications on the Stadia version, so visual fidelity, features like 120 frame rate, things like that will be discussed later in the campaign. As you can imagine, this comment has led to a ton of speculation. The fact alone that he even brought up 120 frame rate is very interesting considering Stadia doesn't even support it yet. But it's not unheard of. Google themselves talked about supporting faster frame rates in the future back when Stadia was officially announced. But the question remains whether or not this is a hint towards Stadia Gen 2 being in the works and being the reason why Dirt 5 is not coming day and date with the rest of the platforms. As for my personal opinion, I definitely hope it's coming, but I'm not taking this as any sort of hint, clue, or confirmation. It certainly seems like Codemasters is heavily focused on the PS5 and Series X version of the game, and that's how they want to keep the messaging. It very well could just be the fact that they rather not speak about anything less than 120 FPS on paper because it sounds better to the public. But I will admit, I do find it a little weird that the Stadia version won't be launching day and date, and we have to wait till next year to play it, especially when the other game that they publish, F1 2020, will be launching day and date. Either way, it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out, and I'm really hoping for 120 FPS support. I think it would do wonders for the platform. Now the next story I want to talk about is going to revolve around Cyberpunk 2077 and the recent trailer that got released for it. Now if you haven't seen the full thing, I highly suggest you go do so. It looks fantastic, and apparently all this footage is just from the prologue mission. But what I want to focus on today is the actual release date. It seems like many people are still confused on whether or not it's launching November 19th, but we have another press release confirming that it will be launching after other platforms. It is worth noting that they plan on launching it still within the same year, which I find a little bit awkward considering the game is coming out November 19th, so the game is only about a month and a half behind at most. Initially, when they stated that it would be coming at a later date to Stadia, I didn't think it would be that close. Due to all this, there's been a ton of speculation going around and a lot of rumors spreading. Some people are saying that possibly Microsoft scored some sort of exclusivity deal, others are saying it's Nvidia, and others think this may be because of Stadia Gen 2. Once again, my only comment on this is to wait for Google or CD Projekt Red to officially acknowledge it. And I don't even mean by press release at this point, I kinda want to hear them say something directly about the Stadia version specifically. If I had to make a bet, I kinda think we'll hear about it at this upcoming Stadia Connect. The release for this game has been a major talking point for the Stadia community. And rightfully so. Not only is this one of the biggest games that people are looking forward to on Stadia, but it's one of the most hyped games I've ever seen. It has a ton to live up to, and based on what people are saying, it sounds like it just might. And while it's great that so many are excited for this game, I don't want people being disappointed based on rumors or speculation revolving around it, so I just want to make it very clear. At this point in time, all we know is that the game will be launching at some point this year after the initial launch on the other platforms. We have nothing more than that to go on, and everything else is just speculation and rumors. Besides that, this game looks absolutely fantastic and I can't wait to play. But now let's move on to what is probably the biggest news in this video, and that's EA Games hiring for some Stadia related positions. EA Tiburon is currently hiring a graphic software engineer and a general software engineer focused on Stadia. Now if you're wondering what games that studio makes, they're best known for the NBA Live, MMA, PGA Tour, or more prominently the Madden series. And while I'm not big on sport games myself, I have to say this is incredibly good news. Like it or not, the Madden series is a huge deal for many out there, and while we do know that it's coming out for Stadia sometime this year, hopefully this means that we'll be getting them every single year. The fact that they're hiring specifically for a Stadia related position in that studio makes it sound like that may be the case, and if so, fantastic. The truth is that EA is a major player in the game, and while they've agreed to releasing 5 games on Stadia, I really hope to see the partnership between the two go way past that. Games like FIFA and Madden need to be guaranteed coming out every single year if Google wants to stand a chance in the gaming industry. It's essential for them to change the constant narrative I see too much of people questioning if when they really need to be asking when. I couldn't tell you how many times in my comments section I've been asked whether or not FIFA or Madden are coming to Stadia this year, and that just isn't a good look. These are some of the biggest selling franchises out there, and it's so important for them to show up on Stadia. I couldn't state that enough. Either way, these hires don't really mean that this is going to be a guaranteed thing going forward, but it is a good sign that they're actually hiring specifically for the platform. At the very least, it's an indication that they're taking the port job seriously, so we should have a great end product. Either way, that summarizes all the news I have for you today. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful at all, be sure to hit that like button as it really does help the channel out, and if you're wanting more content like this, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell as well. Today's end of video message is going to be about EA Games. Which of their franchises matter most to you? They have quite a few franchises under their belt, and I'm curious to know which ones matter the most to you. My personal top 3 is Titanfall, followed by Need for Speed, and then Battlefield. It was a pretty tough decision between Apex Legends and Battlefield, but I think the nostalgia got me pretty good on that end. I look forward to your answers down below. As always, thank you for watching. This has been Generation Stadia, giving you that daily dose of everything and anything Stadia related. The Gen S community is over 4,500 strong and growing by the day, and until next time, I'll catch you in the clouds.